Hi there, I'm Christopher Harrison. I'm a longtime web developer, and with that in mind, what I want to take a look at in this video is one of my favorite frameworks, which is Flask. Now, Flask is a Python web micro framework, and so of course that begs the question, what is a micro framework? Well, a micro framework, if we sort of break this down, is a very, very small framework. And that's actually what's great about Flask. What's great about Flask is what it doesn't do. That Flask will give me a web server. It will give me a templating engine, so that way I can generate HTML dynamically. And then for the most part after that, it just gets out of the way and lets me do whatever it is that I want to do. So if you're looking for a framework that can give you a front end for, say, a machine learning algorithm that you've built, some AI, cog services, whatever it is that it might be, Flask could be that perfect solution for you. So let's get in and take a look at how to set this up. So there's really obviously two main things that we want to do. The first is going to be to run through the quick start, which I'll do in my demo. And the first, or step 0, if you will, is going to be to do the installation. Now, one big thing that I want to highlight here about the installation is the fact that this is going to want a virtual environment, and I am going to follow along with it. Now, if you're not already familiar with virtual environments, you can go ahead and hit the little link that's up above me to see a full video on virtual environments. While we're at it, if you like the video, please feel free to hit all those buttons, like, subscribe, and all of that. So let's do the installation here. So we're going to start by creating a virtual environment. And the way that we do this is by using the Python command and then tick M, which is for a module. The name of the module that we're going to execute is virtual environment, or simply venv. And then this is going to create it inside of a folder called venv. Now, what this actually gives me is a full folder with everything that I need to run my application, including Python itself. Now, I do need to activate this, and so I'll go ahead and activate that by going to the venv folder, bin, and then activate. And now that's turned on, and I can see that by that little marker over there. Again, I've got a full video if you're curious about virtual environments. Now, what I want to do here is I want to install Flask. This can be done through pip. And typically, when we want a package, what we want to do is create a requirements text file that's going to list out all of the packages that we want. So in my case, I want Flask. So I'll put that inside of my requirements text. And then we'll go ahead and say pip install, if I can spell install correctly, R, and then requirements.txt. That will go ahead and do the installation. And now I'm ready to write my code. So let's go ahead and write some code here. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this app.py, which is traditionally the name of the entry file for your Flask application. I'm going to get a little error message saying, hey, pylint isn't installed. I'll go ahead and install it. It's no real big deal. I don't necessarily care about linting here, but I'll let it install anyway. So, okay. In any event, now let's get back to our code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say import Flask, from Flask, import Flask. That's what I want. So this is going to be the core of my application. I'm going to use this to create a brand new app object. So I'll say app equals Flask, and then pass in the system name for our app, which is just like that. This is really actually boilerplate code. You will do this on every single Flask app that you create. Even the most complex ones will always start with those two little lines. Now it's time to start creating our web app. Now, one big thing to keep in mind about a web app is that it's really just like creating any normal application. What's going to be different is how our code is going to be executed. So instead of somebody clicking on a button, what they're going to do is they're going to specify some URL or to get a little bit more technical, they're going to specify what's known as a route. So I can now configure routes here. So now if you come to wherever my server is or whatever my domain name is, and you just simply say /, whatever code is now down below here is going to execute. So this will execute in response to somebody coming to my URL. Now, one of the things that I can do is I could actually just go ahead and return back text. So I can say return, and then maybe hello world, like that, kind of make it an official programming class. And that will then return out. And what's really nice then is that the browser will just automatically convert that into HTML for us. So if I say Flask run, I might get an error message on that. And if I do, that's okay. I didn't. Okay, cool. So if I say Flask run, now I can go to my localhost :5000. We'll just go ahead and bring that up. There we go. And sure enough, I get hello world. Okay. But what happens if maybe I want to send down HTML? Well, I mentioned that Flask has a rendering engine. So what I can do, let's just go ahead and stop my server from running, is I can create a brand new folder here called templates. I can create a brand new file inside of there called index.html. And now I can use just Visual Studio Code here to generate HTML5 for me. So I'm just going to type out HTML. You'll see the rest of the HTML:5. I'll hit enter, and then voila, here is my core HTML. So now I can just go ahead and say welcome, or whatever I want my title to be. And then inside of here, I could say H2 or H1. This is my sample, or something more creative. So now let me hit save. And now let me go back to my starter spot. And instead of returning back text, now what I want to do is I want to render a template. And so my render template is going to want to know, render template, the name of the HTML file to use, which in my case is index.html. So now I'll just go ahead and set that. And now if I run my app, Flask run, we'll hit the little link again, bloop, sound effects help, and go ahead and open it. Now you're going to notice that I get this is my sample. And that's actually in a lot of ways really it to get it up and running inside of Flask. Now, obviously there's more to build from here, that you're going to want to set up more routes. You're going to want to dynamically start putting together things with the HTML, but that really is the starter. So hopefully that helped get you up and running with a little bit of Flask. And I definitely recommend checking out the docs if you want to dig a little bit deeper into how you can really use Flask. And I'll also, in the description below, link out to how you could take your Flask app and deploy it into Azure. So thanks for checking this out. Bye.